one of our developers talking about bridges and when will bridges be cut off and when will the RB happen and when does the QFS become active for the whole world and not the version that we're on now, where you and I are still on the Mossad satellites, but the banks are on the quantum Starlink satellite. So why is there a discrepancy between us as the beta testers versus what the industry is using? And why can we not cross over and use the quantum satellites instead? And so the way that Kirill explained it is that all these things are moving in parallel, right? Like we talked about bridges. Jason, you probably remember the discussion on accelerated bridge construction, right? Where it's like this bridge is down partially for repair. It's still flowing, but the traffic is slow. So based on those Q posts, right? How do you repair a bridge without closing it? You build a secondary bridge, or at least whatever section needs to be replaced, and then you just put it over here and you swap out the old with the new. Then it can flow really quickly, right? So that concept of ABC is being used everywhere in Stellar, everywhere in the Q plan, everywhere in the QFS, even in the Q phones. We've had multiple discussions on how it's being adopted for the Q plan, for the Q phones as well. And so, guys, liquidity is also based on these bridges. What do I mean by that? I've already mentioned so many times, you guys probably remember this. At the end of this year, I talked about how the first layer of NDA should be lifted. And when that happens, there's going to be the first round of liquidity injection. What does that mean? It most likely means that that's when, as an example, it could be the banks. It could be some of these companies that we've already ICO'd that internally their management could say to the employees, hey, by the way, we're on the Stellar blockchain. If you want to get in and get positioned before we tell the masses, here's your time to hop in. So we have the possibility where there could be tens of thousands of people, I don't know, maybe 100,000 people eventually that come in the next round. And when they come in, that's going to be part of the first round of liquidity. So go back to what Nick was explaining a second ago with, the liquidity being injected, how it affects the order books. Right now in our tokens, our projects that we've ICO'd, we have on average anywhere between 1 to 2,000 investors. That's why the order books are going crazy, because everybody who wants in has already put their XLM in. They've already received the cashbacks. And so there's not much room for movement. But when you have 10,000 new people, 50,000 new people who suddenly want to buy into that same project, that's when you're going to see liquidity being injected. Does that make sense, guys? So it's not going to be, purely like how we've been talking about in the past, where we have our, let's call it the wealth transfer token, like the Rockefeller, or the Gates or the Soros token, right? Where they just whoosh money in. That will eventually be part of the liquidity injection, but it's not the initial one. The initial one is how do you grow the Stellar ecosystem? How you grow it is two ways. One, you lift the NDA slowly. So batch phase, people come in over time. And two, organically, that's us. We're the ones teaching people how to get into the Stellar ecosystem.